I'm sure you've all heard by now our decision to play Andy Dalton as we go into Las Vegas to play the Raiders. Sitting Bryce down here, after yesterday, just went home, watched the film, had some conversations with coaches, with Dan Brandt. So had to gather a lot of information through this morning and made that decision after looking at it that this is the best decision for our group, for our team going forward.
Dave, how difficult is it to evaluate a roster when you guys are not moving the ball down the field, not just on offense, but the entire product?
Yeah, there's a lot of factors. We want to play more football. A lot of factors that go into it, for this decision, and ultimately just kind of lands on my shoulders to be able to make the best decision for our group to give us our best chance to win this week. And we focus on the weeks. We focus on the challenge at hand, and we feel like Andy gives us our best chance to meet the challenge.
Dave Tepper say in the past that he gets consulted on the big decisions. What was his role in this as you guys talked about?
I want to keep that private. What I would like to say, though, is this is something after I watched the film, I looked at it, had a thought, started working on, talking to the guys that we make decisions with. Certainly a lot of parties involved there. And ultimately this comes on me, and my number one responsibility is to help the Panthers win. And so this move, I believe, puts us in the best chance to do that this week.
Dave, what were you seeing out of Bryce that wasn't working or that led you to this decision?
I don't want to get into the specifics of it. These are private conversations that we have, in our meetings and the different things. It's just it's a vulnerable state, and so I don't really want to get into too many of the specifics of it.
How much did David Tepper have a say in this? Did you talk to him before making the decision?
Again, I watched the film. I had a thought in mind. We all talked, and I had to make the best decision for the team.
Dave, you were brought here to be the head coach, the offensive coordinator, and part of your plan was to be the quarterback shepherd, essentially. How much of this, like you said, it falls on your shoulders, but how difficult of a decision was this for you and the start of your tenure here?
Yeah, I certainly take it personal, but this position that I'm in, this opportunity that I get is about building a culture, is about building a football team that plays with a certain play style, and that's my main focus. And above all is to help the Panthers win, and so that's what this decision was about.
Dave, when did you inform Bryce, and what was his
I
reaction?
talked to the quarterbacks both. I talked to Bryce and I talked to Andy, and then from there I let the team know and kind of talked to each of the guys. As I knew, I didn't want them to find out the wrong way, so we had a chance, to connect with everyone, and the conversations will be private.
Dave, obviously the franchise invested a lot to go up and get Bryce last year. Do you view this as something that could be permanent throughout the rest of the season, or just kind of a break and see where he's at later?
Right now we're focused on this week. We're focused on getting Andy ready to play the Raiders, and then we'll just take it like that. We'll attack the Raiders. We'll attack this week and get that mentality and the things that we're looking for. So.
Does Young still have the locker room?
Again, that's a loaded question right there. Our focus right now is just trying to make sure we fix the film from yesterday, and then getting ready for the Raiders.
Did you speak with your leadership council before making this decision as well?
I did not.
You mentioned this sort of being a sensitive topic, and how did those discussions go when you're talking about the number one pick and what this could mean to his confidence and his career?
Yeah, it's a lot of those factors, and again, I hate to sound like a broken record. I owe it to all of the guys, the coaches, the staff, the players, everybody involved to be really critical about what we put on film, about what I'm seeing, and to make sure that I'm constantly making the best decision for the team every week. And it happens to be the quarterback position, and so it's loaded that way, but it's every position, and it's all the guys. And I was able to stand in front of the team and challenge all the guys that we all have to step up our passion for what we're doing to play with the play style that we're looking for.
Just yesterday, you were adamant that Bryce was the guy. He was the starter. Yeah. Less than 24 hours later, how do you come to terms with mentally making that decision and then presenting it to him?
Yeah, it was rough, but I had to watch the film. And at the time that I spoke to you all, I hadn't watched the film, so I just went home. I watched the film. I gathered the information and made the best decision for the team, especially for the offense of what's going to put us in our best place to be successful this week.
Adam kind of had a little, after the sack by Bosa, Adam kind of had a moment on the sideline where he was pacing and kind of yelling, I guess. And he said that he went up and apologized to Bryce afterwards to let him know it wasn't about him. Deontay Johnson said that he wanted to uplift Bryce. When you see the veteran guys surround Bryce with that type of respect and I guess assurance, does that make the decision that much harder?
I expect the same support for Andy as we go into this week for the guys to, be supportive and every day just to approach it with that kind of energy.
Will Bryce be the number 2 this week?
Yes.
You'll be bringing another quarterback?
Not right now.
Do you plan on making any other adjustments to the roster?
Probably. I think it's every single week we're evaluating our roster. We're challenging all spots. We're looking to just be as competitive as possible. And that's the part that we owe, again, to everybody is to really continue to evaluate who we have out there and who can help us.
Does the overall offensive scheme change a little bit with Dalton at the helm, or is he going in to implement what y'all have been trying to do?
Yeah, it's going to be our system. Yep.
Understanding you don't want to get too deep into the weeds on the decision, but was there something kind of an overriding factor, even the nature in which you guys lost the first 2 games? Was there something really that drove this more than any other factor?
I'm not going to get into specifics of it, Joe. I just, after watching it and taking all the information, and we feel like Andy gives us our best chance to win.
Is 2 weeks a large enough sample size to make this type of decision?
Honestly, the focus right now for me is to make sure we're getting Andy ready to go. So I don't want to get into the whole amount of time and all that.
Did you take this job in part because of the opportunity to work with Bryce and what does it mean that now 2 weeks into it, that's not going to be a thing?
I took this job because it's a dream. It's a dream to be able to lead men, to face these kind of challenges, to make the decisions that give us our best chance to win. And so that's the heart and soul of this thing, So, and I'm still there pushing. I'm going to compete every single day just to continue to help our team take the next step.
How do you look at this? I mean, is it a Bryce failure? You think it's a failure on your part? How do you look at this?
I just have to gather information, and I have to be very objective about what I'm looking at and where we can go as a team. And so we feel like Andy gives us our best chance going forward.
I know you don't want to get into the conversation with Brant and Dan, but how empowered did you feel to make this decision with the people that you made those decisions with?
This is my decision. This is our football team. This is trying to win on a weekly basis. And while it's my decision, I gather information from the people that are critical to making these kind of decisions. But this is something that I felt like gives us our chance to take a step forward in our play style and to be able to compete this week against a really good Raiders team.
Was it a hard decision for you to make?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Every roster move we've made has been a really difficult decision, but it comes with a lot of thought, a lot of conversations, and a lot of film study. It always comes back to the football. And so that's how the decision was made.
There's a hope that, maybe Bryce, sits back, watches and learns, and then it pays off down the road just from learning. I know you said last week that there's nothing like game experience, but in some ways maybe is it better for him to take a step back and reassess and watch from and maybe learn that way.
I certainly hope he just shows up every day, works hard, focuses on his job, and continues to push himself.
Is this a weekly decision you're going to have to make, or is Andy the starter just moving forward?
I don't want to get into timelines. I just know Andy gives us our best chance to win right now.
What makes you say that?
His resume speaks for itself. He's an experienced player. He's got a lot of football in his history. So I'm excited for Andy with this opportunity, and I believe he gives us our best chance to win this week.
Is he healthy? I know he had some stuff in preseason.
Andy Dalton's our quarterback right now, so going into this week, we feel great about him.
How do you think the offensive line has performed over the past 2 weeks when you watch that tape and you gather that information?
Yeah, I thought that we had growth in a lot of areas, offensive line from 1 week to the next, just handling handling the protections, moving the line of scrimmage. I thought we established a new line of scrimmage. We had some great runs in the game, 65% run efficiency on the day, which was fantastic. We saw, 8 3rd and 5 or less. That's playing on schedule. That's a place where we got to be able to take advantage of. And the offensive line is a huge part of that. So saw the guys working together. They got a bunch they got to clean up. As we still become our scheme and our concepts, there's still a lot of growth there, but definitely see the potential and the power inside.
As you go into practice, obviously focusing on Andy as the starter, how do you make sure Bryce doesn't get kind of thrown to the wayside in practice and lost in the weeds?
Yeah, Andy's going to get the pertinent reps for our practices. He's going to be in there with the first group. We're going to ask him to step in the huddle and continue to push the ball forward as we grow into the offense I think we can become.
How can Bryce?
Do a couple more.
How can Bryce respond in the best possible way to these circumstances?
Yeah, just the standard of NFL football is show up, work hard, be focused, be engaged, do your job, give everything you have every day, pursuing your best and growing.
Coach, 2 early calls went against the Panthers. Do you have any comment on Horn's forced fumble and Johnson's fair catch interference?
The officials are great. They came over to the sideline, kind of explained what they saw, explained the situation, explained that there was, turnover plays get reviewed and all that. So it's like they had a lot of information. It was a fantastic crew of guys just coming over and kind of letting me know what was happening.
Clarify, you told the quarterbacks this morning, Dave.
Yes.
Dave, any injuries we should know about coming on Sunday?
Shy had a foot deal. Do I speak specifically about it? So he's got a foot injury that we're evaluating right now, and then nothing else really that that came up of significant.
What's
the last one? So you get the locker room.
What was that?
What's Andy bring that Bryce didn't?
I don't want to get into specifics of comparison. I just know Andy gives us our best chance to win this week. So we're going with Andy, and he'll get the lion's share of it, and I'm looking for great things from him.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thank you, Dave.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.